The MPS has a tailpipe with mufflers that comes out at a tip around about that size. Not very big. The stock sound isn't too bad, but we need better. So we need something a little bit bigger. So we're going to install this.
So in a previous video we had to go to a wreckers to pick up a new part. While we were there we found that they actually had a Mazda 6 MPS. We had a look over the car and there was a lot on the car that we liked. And so we were able to pick up a second-hand 3-inch catback exhaust which was in really good condition. So we bought that and we've got it home and we're going to show you how to install it. This is the stock system on the car. As you can see, there's a chrome insert around the edge. It's got a nice Y piece at the end and it flows okay for stock. This is the new exhaust. First thing is, while the exhaust is out of the car, we need to give it a really good clean. And so we're going to keep that chrome look for now and we're going to polish up the end while it's not on the car. You'll probably never get the opportunity to give it the clean that you can give it while it's not attached to the vehicle. And so with the help of a couple of little helpers, we're able to give that a nice polish and it came up looking great. The next thing we did was we jacked up the car, making sure that the axle stands were really secure because we're going to be spending some time underneath the car for this work. If you don't have a set of axle stands, you can get by with just jacking up the rear of the car for this job, but we've found that if we can get all 4 wheels off the ground nice and high, you can just access all of the nuts and bolts that you need to for this job much easier. Now that you have your car up nice and high, it's a really good idea just to measure up the new exhaust. Although it was a direct bolt on, there'd be nothing worse than pulling off your old exhaust just to find that the new one doesn't quite fit because they've had something different with their dump pipe or something just a little bit off. And so this one works. Now it comes time to undo the existing system. Here we are disconnecting the main part of the exhaust from your dump pipe. This is where your catalytic converter sort of comes in, and this is why they call it a catback system. Undo these 2 bolts and that will remove the front part of your system. We've got a trick here that we use with a screwdriver with the mounting brackets on the exhaust, these rubber brackets. If you can get the screwdriver through the bracket and over the end of the little ball joint there, you can flick that off. Now you may want to support the end of your exhaust while you do this next part. It makes it a little bit easier, but we're not going to, and you can see why it's a good idea in a minute. Undo the bolts. You may need some penetrating fluid just to get those a little bit looser, like Inox or WD-40 or something. And here you can see, just using a screwdriver to get that extra bit of leverage to separate them, you'll see the ends come off fairly easily once the bolts are undone, but getting those bolts to move for a start on an older car can be a bit of a challenge. Now we're just going to remove the back mufflers. These are quite tricky to get off. Once you've got them, there's 3 screws to undo your little chrome insert. Once that's out, you can start putting in your brand new shiny mufflers. Push them in to the existing brackets, and once you've done that on both sides, you're ready to install your new exhaust. Do up the mufflers first, just loosely. This exhaust had a mid piece that we did up then, and then started attaching that to the dump pipe. This wasn't the tidiest fit. Luckily we got some little helpers there to help us out, but once we got that in line, we were able to do everything up a lot tighter. So the exhaust's on. Sounds awesome. It does sound though, after driving around this morning, like it may be touching somewhere it's not meant to be rubbing. Obviously it was a bit of a tight fit trying to get it all to match up, and so after a bit of driving around this morning and letting it all settle in place, I think it may be touching. So we'll have a look at that. It was touching pretty hard because we had to really twist that exhaust because the brackets didn't line up. We've had to take them off, and so what I'm going to do now is cut part of the exhaust, which is a job I don't like doing, and re-angle where they connect so that we won't have to twist the exhaust as hard as what we've done in the past. Luckily we only have to take off the mid piece to do this. Now after lining it up and drawing it up, we're going to cut off the very end of that mid piece. File it up and make sure everything's smooth. Tape it up so it stays in place. After this we're going to do a tack weld just to make sure that everything lines up. Then we'll once again align it with the exhaust to make sure that we've got that right. Make sure that that's all taped up, ready to go, so it's not going to move while you tack weld, but don't tape it all, otherwise it will catch on fire. I really don't like welding exhausts. And there is our little tack weld. Pretty terrible. Once it's tacked, put it back on, align it, make sure that everything's okay before we run the full bead all the way around the exhaust. There's a bit of a gap, so we'll push that down. A bit of force by the hand, we're just going to tack the other side, and now we're ready to run our full bead all the way around. The reason I don't like doing exhaust is that you always get a hole, always, especially stick welding, and then you've got to fill them. Now we get to fill the hole. And this is our finished product. It's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. So what we're going to do is just paint that. Now the only paint that I've got in the shed sadly is engine paint, and it's black. So we'll use that just to stop a bit of rust and corrosion, although the colour is going to stand out terribly. Luckily it's the very bottom of the car that no one ever sees. Then we're going to file out any of the slag that's on the inside of the exhaust after welding. Now we're good. We take off what we've done before, take off all the tape, and now we're ready to reattach our exhaust. Running a bead around the edge of some gasket stuff, making sure that's the heat-proof gear. We're using manifold gasket stuff there. Attach your exhaust once again. At this point it's quite late at night, so we're not using power tools for our neighbours. Drop down the car. And the moment of truth.
so there you have it. That is how to turn that into a brand new catback exhaust system. The car sounds great. It is extremely loud though. See you next time.
Bah, 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 bah.